restoring men and history. And it's important that we know our past, the America past. And how do you know that? By getting into the minds of the founders and the ratifiers and the documents. Today is Saturday, March 4th, 1797, inaugural address by John Adams. We're going to do just bits and pieces of it, not the whole entire speech. So we're going to pull some thoughts from the mind of John Adams so that you understand America better, which is very important, and the mind of one of the founders and second president of the United States of America. Saturday, March 4th, 1797, when it was first perceived in early times that no middle course for America remained between unlimited submission to a foreign legislature and a total independence of its claims, men of reflection were less apprehensive of danger from the formidable power of fleets and armies than they must determine to resist than those from contest and dissensions, which would certainly arise concerning the forms of government to be instituted over the whole and over the parts of this extensive country. So what do we know right away? They did not want to submit to what? A foreign legislature, which means also what? We don't want to submit to the United Nations or the WHO, right? We want American sovereignty. We fought for that. Men risked their lives for it. And we have a United States Constitution, which is supreme over the United Nations, which is supreme over any treaty signed, and a treaty cannot undo it. Treaty cannot circumvent the Constitution. Self-rule. Americans were accustomed to self-rule, and here he addresses that. We're not going to submit to a foreign legislature. You will watch through this speech as foreign comes up a lot. They were aware of the problems of foreign interference, foreign influence. Unlike, or if it meets with the plan, today's senators who are entangled with so many countries, right? When I say entangled, meaning involving and entangling the United States of America, and that is what I mean. They don't mind involving the United States and entangling the United States and giving foreign aid all over the place, these U.S. senators, at least the majority of them. And they don't mind giving up American sovereignty, right? Sustainability, applying, using, and going along with the United Nations for sustainability, climate change accords, all of those. If you like our mission, please like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification button. Now, we are Americans and we are sovereign. This sustainability and climate change push will impede upon your freedom, and you have seen it. Now, what are they going to rely on to deal with the British? Let's go on back to the speech. Just wanted to talk about they fought for American sovereignty. We still have it. We still have a U.S. Constitution. We are not under the United Nations. All right. Relying, however, on the purity of their intentions. Nice, right? The justice of their cause and the integrity and intelligence of the people. Notice how they're not denigrating the people. He's right here saying the people have integrity and intelligence, which the people of the United States today, I'll take the rural farmers and those people, right? Probably have more integrity than many of the politicians who we've seen, right? Under an overruling providence, which had so signally protected this country from the first, the representatives of this nation, then consisting of a little more than half its present number, not only broke to pieces the chains which were forging and the rod of iron that was lifted up, but frankly cut asunder the ties which had bound them and launched them into an ocean of uncertainty. Now watch, uncertainty there. Today we like a lot of men, some like uncertainty, some like certainty, but some men need certainty. But they launched into uncertainty, and I think it's a great testament of the manliness of that time. Manly men take what? Risk. Manly men and masculine men are able to take risk, not be sure of the outcome. The larger the risk you take, what? Uncertain. Purity of intentions. Founders had purity of intentions. What intentions do the globalists have today for you? You will eat bugs. You will own nothing and be happy, right? Not good intentions. We're going to shut the farmland down. We're going to buy all the farm. We're going to shut the farmers down. Okay? Well, climate control people, right? That's climate control. They want to control you using the climate to control you, right? That's what the globalists want to do. They were fighting for freedom. The globalists are fighting for tyranny over you today. And that is your battle today for freedom. Again, freedom through the ages continues this battle, right? We are always in a battle for freedom versus tyranny. The justice of their cause. Not much just on the globalist side, right? We were fighting for freedom, self-rule, self-determination, and we still are. You are in the battle today, and we must win it peacefully. And who does he say protected the country? This is an inaugural address. It's official. See how the court created separation of church and state, and it falls apart? He states Providence protected this country. So from the first, you had Washington saying it, then Adams, we did Jefferson saying it, all in agreement. Providence played a large hand in the United States of America. We were founded on what? Christian principles. That is what we are. A nation founded on Christian principles. Clear. Uncertainty, risk, and certainty we talked about. We will not always be certain of our decisions in life, but if we are coming from a place and making decisions from our virtues and morality, and we know what's right and good and true, we know what to do. We may not win. We don't know the outcome always, but you have to go on and go forward. They didn't know they were going to win. They didn't know what was going to happen. They've all been killed. But they were guided by what? God and virtue, providence. Better to be free, they thought, than under tyranny. And today, that is a choice you're making. Better to be free today than under climate control and the globalist. And you got to stand now. Sustainability. Watch these key words. Smart cities, which are really 15-minute prison cities. They're going out in rural areas. They're bringing people across the border to vote eventually. Brought millions across. Denigrating your citizenship. Let's move on. They decided, they took action. That's initiative. That's a manly virtue. So these men took initiative and took action. Manly virtue. Measures were pursued to concert a plan to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of what? Liberty. So what's he talking about when he says form a more perfect union? He's going back to the Articles of Confederation, right? Approved by Congress around November 1777 and ratified around 1781, March, right? Whose power? Whose power is it? What does he say here? Who is represented? Who is it all for? What are we doing all this for? For it is the people only that are represented. It is their power and majesty, not the power of the bureaucrats, not the power of the administrative state. He doesn't say it's all about the administrative state. There was no administrative state. Unconstitutional. Doesn't say it's all about the president. Doesn't say it's all about a king, an oligarchy. It is the people only that are represented. It is their power and majesty that is reflected, and only for whose good? For their good. It is the people only that are represented. It is their power and majesty that is reflected, and only for their good. In every legitimate government, under whatever form it may appear, it is for you the people, we the people. It's not for foreigners. It's not for Ukrainians. It's for you, the people of the United States. It's not for any other foreign country, any foreigners having power. It's not for the United Nations. We're not under the United Nations. Our Constitution is above us. It's not for NATO, we the people. It's not for the WHO for sure, right? And what is a huge danger? And watch this, how relevant today that he gets into here. He talks about what elections? What does he say? In the midst of these pleasing ideas, we should be unfaithful to ourselves if we should ever lose sight of the danger to our liberties. And what's the danger? He's getting ready to say it. If anything partial or extraneous should infect the purity of our free, fair, virtuous, and independent elections. So they've got to be free, fair, virtuous, and independent. Do we have that today? Do you feel we have it? Do you think we have it? Now, to have free elections, we've got to see voter ID so that we have trust in it, that it's the right person. You can't just close polls at any old time and kick everybody out either, right? And have trust in the elections. And in a republic, you need trust in election. If that solitary suffrage can be obtained by foreign nations, watch this, by flattery or menaces, by fraud or violence, by terror, intrigue, or venality, the government may not be choice of the American people, not the Ukrainian people, but of foreign nations. Government may not be the choice of the American people, so it's got to be the choice of you, the American people. So we have to protect and close that southern border, right? Citizenship must be valued. Massive mail-in voting must not be tolerated because that will undermine the faith in the election. And this is a republic, so if you don't have faith in, it's supposed to be you, the people, deciding. That was the whole point. Self-rule, self-determination. You, the people, are determining who you vote for, whom you vote for. You decide the elections. You decide whose power. You have the power. Not the government, not a faction. It may be foreign nations who govern us and not we the people. Think about that. At the beginning of this country, John Adams knew what it took. What do you think he would think about this mail-in massive voting? Trust in elections is important. Many people do not have that now, and they're for these reasons, and they must be addressed and fixed. There's a faction in the country that wants more power, that would love for you to give up your vote, but you got to go vote. You got to get involved. It's very important. Easier to do fraud if you do not vote. Maybe they just mail in your vote for you, right? So you got to get out and vote. What would a free, fair election look like to you? First of all, it rests on what? Free debate, access to information. We can't have the agencies of the government and the administrative state determining the information you get to see from companies, from your friends. Because the First Amendment prevents administrative state and agencies from doing that. They are not to interfere, they're not to censor, they're not to call it misrepresentation, misinformation, disinformation, whatever other language they want to call it. You must have the ability to express yourself, even if it disagrees with the federal government, and express yourself peacefully. Everything's peacefully. So right now we have massive problems with censorship, election interference, right? You must be able to have a healthy debate and disagree with the incumbent, people in the federal government, and express your opinion. It's part of America. It's the American way to be able to say what you think, even if it is in disagreement with your federal government. And the First Amendment protects you from the federal government telling you can't, telling a company they can't put your statement up, telling agencies or administrative states saying, Twitter, you got to take this down. Facebook, you got to take this down. You got to take this down. They cannot do that. Or to change an algorithm, or to come up with terms and label it in certain ways, misrepresentation or disinformation or misinformation. Freedom of dissent. All right, and we need to vote in person. We need paper ballots. Almost everyone who can, who's not disabled or in the military, needs to be voting in person. That's it. One day voting, voter ID, will increase the faith in elections. We need the faith that the judges will follow the Constitution. We need to see the people arrested for election fraud and punished. Remember the mules taking all the ballots in? What has happened with that? You see, here's the problem. No one's punished for that. It will continue to go on, and certainly is. What will not increase faith in elections? Ballot harvesting does not. Voting machines do not give many people confidence. Machine breakdowns at certain key times during elections certainly undermine trust and faith in the elections. Mules delivering ballots do not. Mail-in voting in general does not increase confidence in our elections. Massive illegal aliens brought in and then some states trying to legalize it to vote does not bring confidence. Thomas Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence, "Governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed." If we do not have free, fair elections, you don't have that. Without interference from the agencies and the administrative state. Government can't be instituted from a party or faction or the government itself without free, fair elections. Meaning it can't be done that way. It has to be with free, fair elections. It is a danger. What makes for good government? He goes on, if a love of science and letters and a wish to patronize every rational effort to encourage schools, colleges, universities, academies, and every institution for propagating what? What does he say? Knowledge, virtue, and religion among all classes of people. See how far the court took us away from that. Knowledge, virtue, and religion among all classes of people. Now, that can be done in the home, right? That's going to be done in the home. But again, see how often are we talking about imparting knowledge, virtue, and wisdom and religion, Christian principles, a nation founded on Christian principles. Here it is again. Over and over and over, we see this theme, Washington, Jefferson here. We can impart all those in the home. See how differently they spoke back then. How it was to be encouraged and taught in schools. Then later the courts interfered. All it said was the line in the First Amendment was what? Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. Why is it important, religion and virtue? Here he goes on. Not only for the benign influence on the happiness of life, so he's tying it, Washington tied it to happiness, right? So our surveys and studies tie it to happiness. People are happier if they believe. The stages and classes and of society in all its form, that is the only means of preserving what? Our Constitution from its natural enemies. So we talk about this often. We wish to restore the Constitution and restore men. Why? Because you need both. Without virtue, morality, and men of character, you can't protect this document, this grand document. You got to have both. Men of virtue and the Constitution. Together, they can protect each other. You need both, or it will not work and last. Look how denigrated the Constitution is right now from the judges, Congress, and the presidency. They've gone beyond their enumerated powers, and that is the problem. They've started agencies that don't have enumerated powers to be there, expanding the government unconstitutionally. And what are the enemies? He goes on to say the spirit of sophistry, the spirit of party. Washington talked about party. There he echoes Washington. The spirit of intrigue, the profligacy of corruption. Ooh, corruption's good for today, right? We see a lot of corruption, right? Ready. And the pestilence of what? Here we go, foreign influence. Notice how often he and Washington talked about the problems of foreign influence. We have it today. How relevant today to listen to this. See how it ties. And watch what he says. How strong is this point? The prophecy of corruption and the pestilence of foreign influence is what? It is the angel of destruction to elective governments. That's how powerful and strong he says it. Hear that? It is the angel of destruction to elective governments. Corruption and the pestilence of foreign influence. And those are the problems, right? We've got to take care of that. What are we doing about those two? So there you go. Inaugural address, Christian principles all the way through it. I feel to be my duty to add, if a veneration for the religion of a people who profess and call themselves Christians, and a fixed resolution to consider a decent respect for Christianity among the best recommendations for what? The public service. can enable me in any degree to comply with your wishes, it shall be my strenuous endeavor that this sagacious injunction of the two houses shall not be without effect. So look how far away we've gone from that. Christians now attacked, integrated, and there's the opposite of what he's saying we need to do. Lastly, it ends with a pretty important finish, right? And what would you finish when you start a speech? Sometimes you finish it with the most important point. He pledges to support the Constitution. We want to restore the Constitution to its previous glory. Restore the Constitution, restore men, restore the Republic, right? And he ends with this: and may that being, who is supreme over all, the patron of order, the fountain of justice, and the protector in all ages of the world of virtuous liberty, continue his blessing upon this nation and its government, and give it all possible success and duration consistent with the ends of his providence. So there you have what he thought was very important all the way through it. A nation founded on Christian principles. Beware of foreign influence. Over and over through there. Make sure you have free, fair elections, so important today. Thank you. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification button.